So 5 days ago, the BBC released an article saying Middlesbrough drug overdose kit hailed as a lifesaver.
Yeah.
It's talking about a kit that's been used on the streets of Middlesbrough to sort of save, so to speak, people who have overdosed in the streets of Middlesbrough. They've got a team out administering them to these people. What is your opinion on this, Brian?
Yeah, I think this this kit actually, the Naloxone kit is just an amazing piece of kit. We've used it on several occasions, and we've seen the lives being brought back. Really, we've had to use it on people who are absolutely passed out or on the floor, serious overdose. We've tried other means quickly to bring them round, but we can't. So we actually have to use that injection on them. We inject it direct into the muscle, and within minutes you can see the eyes start to flicker. What it does, it reverses the effect and nulls the effect of heroin, but it will only last for about 20 or 30 minutes. That's all it will last for. Now, the whole idea is, and while you're doing that, someone else is phoning 999 and getting the ambulance there ASAP, because once they come round from it, they start to feel as if they haven't got any drugs in them, and the drugs they've taken are being a waste of time. So the temptation they've got is go straight out, get some more drugs and use on top of that, which could be fatal, absolutely fatal if you do that. So you've got to hold them there and keep them there until the ambulance arrives. You know, the best way that you can do. Normally, if you're phoning the ambulance at the same time someone's giving them the injection and you're explaining what you are doing, the ambulance is there within minutes. You know, so not really they're there before the fully come round, the fully conscious. Yeah. But that is the danger, that they go off and buy some more drugs, use some more on top. Then the first lot and the second lot both hit at the same time, and that could be fatal. So before anyone can use the kits, there's lots of training given on them. Lots of training. You know, no one can just have one and use it. Yeah, you've got to make sure that you know what you are doing. But it certainly works. It's certainly good, and it certainly is a lifesaver. I can't speak on the article itself because it refers to Middlesbrough. We don't really link in with the Middlesbrough, so I can't really speak for the street wardens going around with it. But what I can speak for is the kit itself, the Naloxone kit. And it's just an amazing tool to have to save lives. Yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Helen, just quickly from you, as a former addict, what's your input on this? Because you've obviously been clean a long time now, and I don't think these kits were around when you were.
No, they weren't. No.
Do you think that would have? Do you wish there were?
Oh, definitely. I do think that that there should be more of them. I mean, I could have saved a few of my friends that have passed away with overdoses if people get educated and maybe give them out to the actual. And I think they are doing that, are they now, Brian? Giving them out.
They are now. With training, they are now. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I think they are a brilliant piece of kit. But initially, it does go down to that underlying that problem. Why is that person using so much? So, but I do think it's a brilliant piece of kit. It has saved people's lives, and it's absolutely brilliant for that. I do think there should be more out there. There needs to be more education about it, more training. Like Brian was saying, you need to be trained, and I do think that when the places like Lifeline, CGL are giving you your methadone, and there should be education around the injection as well and what it does.
I think definitely the key for it is education. People need to be educated on not only what they do when it's at that point of, okay, this person needs saving, but before that, people need to understand why addicts are addicts.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
There's a lot of misconceptions around it, and I, for one, certainly when I was younger, was guilty of it. You know, you get brought up with the always being told,
the stigma.
drugs are bad, and as a young person growing up, you sort of just go, okay, drugs are bad, so people who take drugs must be bad. But actually, having grown up, spoke to people, you realise that's not the case. And what I imagine both of you, Helen, you personally, and Brian, you'll have seen it through people you work with. So could you both give me a bit of an insight into, Helen, what you personally experienced?
When I was, something went in my drink, and then that's when I was first initially injected with heroin. I actually did go over for over an hour. I can't remember any of that. There was lots of trying to bring me back around, and I think if that injection was available to use, the people around me would have used it on me, and that would have been a total big game changer as well. Because I kind of just woke up, and I didn't have a clue what had happened to me. I was out for over an hour. But if that injection was used, then I think that, well, it would have frightened me even more, and I would have, well, I can't say I would have ran. I don't know what I would have done back then, because it was quite a controlling relationship that I was in. But I think it would have been a massive shock, and I think I would have probably reached out more, because who wants that? I mean, who does want that?
What is it like knowing that you could have quite easily have obviously been overdosed because of someone else, but you could have been one of those people that didn't?
It's scary. It's scary to think, but like, there's been a few times when you don't know what you're buying on the streets. You don't know if it's heroin. You don't know what you're in. Each time that in addiction, each time you inject, you are taking a risk of going over. So to have them needles there, if you're around someone that can administer it, that's I think there should be more in the kits and more education, definitely. But yeah, for me, it would have saved a lot of my friends as well that have passed through with overdoses.
Yeah, and just touching on misconceptions of addicts, Brian, can you talk about some of the things you hear and see, because you work with addicts?
You see, everybody's a child at one time in their lives. Everyone has these dreams of what they want to do when they get older. Everyone has dreams to be a nurse, or go to college, university. Everyone has dreams to be a train driver, or whatever they are. But everyone has dreams to be something when they do get older, no matter how small or big those dreams are. But I've never met one person yet who has dreams to become a working girl, has dreams to become a person living on the street, having to rely on drugs, having to rely on go shoplifting. I've not heard one person who wants to grow up like that. It's something that sadly happens to them in life. As we heard from Helen, she was she got on with someone, her boyfriend at the time. Then she was more or less forced to take drugs, really, so injected against their will to take drugs. Many of them are persuaded by their peers, and because they want to be like other people in their teens, or be like the older guys that they might sort of mix with. I'm talking about boys as well as girls. They might have their first smoke, thinking, but this won't harm me. But this won't harm me. It might be a bit of weed, cannabis, and thinking, this won't harm me. This won't harm me. And then it just goes on from there. And the first time they use drugs, no one, they all think just one go won't make any difference to me. But it does. It starts to draw them in. And addiction is a terrible thing. That's what it's called. That's what that word means. Addiction. You can't break free from it. The power that the drugs have sort of over you. Once you start to use them, you get drawn into that world, and it's something that you want and your body needs more and more and more of, just to feel normal, just to feel able to get up every single morning, just to start the day right. You need a shot of something, and that's what addiction is. I mean, with me, it was drink. I had a drink addiction going back 30, 40 years ago, drinking full whiskey day cans and things like that. And I couldn't stop shaking. I was feeling as if I was going to pass out. And I had to have a drink just to feel normal, just to get on with my daily work, and that's how it is with drugs as well. So the more you use, the more you tend to have to use. And we work with people now who've got a drug habit of 100, 200 pounds per day. And that would only start off with about 10 or 20 pounds a month, and it just grows. So the amount that they have to do, and the draw of the drugs is so bad that it will steal from anyone, including their own family. Their own family turns against them. They will resort to violence if they have to get the drugs. And it's such a hard world for them. So once they're in that state, the world starts to turn against them and say, it's your fault, you did it in the first place, you did it in the first place. Mm-hmm. Yes, perhaps they did in the first place, but it was not with the intention to end up where they are now, and they need help and guidance to help them get out of there. Methadone, an awful lot of them end up on the methadone. Now, the methadone in the first instance was only supposed to be a stopgap to help them break that habit. But methadone is used and was used as a directive went out from the government many years ago. I'm talking about 20 years ago, to say use, probably more than that anyway, use it to stop the crime, use it to stop crime rate. And it was not about helping people, not about supporting people, it was all about stopping the crime rate. And the thought behind it at that time was that if they give people loads of methadone, whatever they want, loads of it, they won't have to go and steal, they won't have to rob old ladies, they won't have to do any of that. But what they didn't bargain for is that methadone doesn't give them that high, doesn't give them that sort of kick which they need. So they were using the methadone as a top-up to be able to live, but they still need to use on that. They still have that addictive personality. Some of them are addicted to needles, so they still need to go and get that fix through a needle, as well. And it's proved over the years that it does not work. Actually, it doesn't work. The way it's being used at the moment, it does not work. But yet they still actually do it. There's a new scheme set up in Middlesbrough now, nicknamed Shooting Gallery. That's what it's nicknamed as. you can read about it. If you Google it, it's where they can go in to this place in Middlesbrough, and it's run by the same doctor that's mentioned in that article. That's the same guy that actually runs it. And the whole idea behind it is that people, certain people can go in there and get and can inject themselves with drugs. Now, when you read the article about that, the article refers to the same thing about crime, keeping crime down. And that's the number one thing, keeping crime down. The number one thing that should be aiming at is helping people, supporting people, get people clear of drugs. That should be the number one, not about crime. Because if you look after the people, the crime and everything else will actually follow. You know, the crime will follow. If you put people first, people second, and people third, then everything else will fall into line from there. But that doesn't happen. You can read any report that's about crime. I'm really really passionate about this. I get really angry about this.
Yeah, I agree. The methadone for me, 18 years. I think I had a 3-month break, if that. Methadone was another addiction. It didn't work. It was worse, and going and trying to get your methadone script was a battle in itself, because you got to put tests in, you got to do this. They had you dangling on a piece of string, and they should have been dealing with, why am I wanting this? Why looking into my past? Why has this gone wrong for this person? What's made her want to go out and cover? What's she covering over? Not, well, you can't put a clean test in, I'm dropping you 10 mil, or you're not getting your script. This just fighting with them all the time to get your methadone, and it gets into your bones, and it's the worst thing. Methadone is just awful.
Methadone is harder to come off and more painful to come off than the actual drug itself, you know. You know, we can send people away to rehab, and we can get them a detox on whatever drugs they are taking and whatever amount they are taking. Anything more than 30 mils of methadone, they won't take them, because the methadone fights so heavily against the detox. The detox just does not work. But yet they can use £100 a day, £200 a day of street drugs, and they can get a detox for that. But they can't get a detox for methadone if it's over 30 mils. That's how bad this is that they're putting in the system. Do you know, methadone was invented by the Germans in the 1930s. That's when methadone was first made. And it was used as a tool of war by Hitler during the Second World War. It was also used on his own men at times to keep his men in order. So, as we've just heard, actually, Helen said, they need that methadone every single day, and they've got to report every single day to actually get it. Now, if the men do something wrong, they won't get the methadone. So they had to obey the rules, had to obey what they were told, had to go in the front line and fight, otherwise they wouldn't get the sort of methadone that they wanted to keep going. You know, and that's how far back methadone goes in the 1930s. And still, in the 2021, we are still using methadone to control the people so they don't commit the crime, which is a failure.
Ridiculous.
We're still using it as a controlling drug over people. And because they're on methadone, they've got to report to the chemist every day, they've got to pick it up every day, they're not able to work, they're not able to run normal lives. The nickname for methadone out on the streets is liquid handcuffs. That's what they are, liquid handcuffs. That's a nickname for methadone. Yeah.
When I was going into rehab, I had to argue my toss to cut down off the methadone, because I had to be on 30 mils to go away to Wales, and I had to really battled with my counsellor to actually allow me to cut down what I wanted to cut down every week. I had a real battle on my hands with them. Eventually they came around, but what a battle at the beginning. Just to, and it's those counsellors that need educating as well. They all need educating.
Yeah.
and the right training.
We have the same hassle now. I've got 2 lads going off to rehab fairly soon. As I mentioned to you, I'm working with them now, getting them off to rehab. We're having a bit of a battle at the moment with their methadone. One of them is on 30, so he's fine. The other one is on, I can't remember offhand, 40 or 45. That's all it is. So he hasn't got to drop a lot. But oh no, you can't do that. You can't do that, she said. Load of garbage. Load of
Yeah,
garbage.
rubbish. Well, I'm witness, you can do that. You can.
It sounds bizarre hearing people
Yeah.
saying they won't let you come off a drug. Like
That's right.
that is absolutely ludicrous.
That's right.
If you as the addict are saying I can come off it, I know I can.
Yeah.
Why is someone else telling you that you can't?
Mm-hmm.
Control.
It's absolutely
Yes.
mad. You know yourself what you're capable of.
I
I
agree.
think it's money as well, isn't it? Comes down to money.
Yeah.
I mean,
all about, yeah. It's all about crime. Oh no, we must give you more of this because the government says so to keep the crime rate down.
Mm.
And it all comes back to more than anything just a laziness because they can't be bothered to deal with the people. It's easier to just give them the drug, right? That'll stop them committing crimes, and that works for us. Get to know the people, you'll realise maybe why they're addicted and how you can get them off it.
There's also this thing against as well with CGL and the likes of CGL. If you want to go to rehab, you've got to use our rehabs. You can't use of anyone else. We will send you where we want to. We'll send you to. You can't go to a different one. Again, control. Yeah. Absolutely control. You know, yeah.
I've never ever had one mention of rehab. All the years, 18 years is a long time to even be offered a rehab or even to be spoke about in that. When you go and pick up your prescription in that little office room, not one mention of a rehab, nothing.
We're the same with the lads that we've actually sent away to rehab, you know?
Mm.
Yeah. And you know, they try to talk them out of going. The amount of success stories we've got now that will tell you, like what we're just hearing now, the amount of success stories that we've got where they will turn around and say the same thing. They tried to stop me from going. Yep. Yeah, rehab wasn't mentioned. I never got the chance. Yeah.
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 Now is that just a way to control these people, to get them to do what they want them to do without having to worry about spending the money to get them clean?
I just see there's a blind spot, and it's to do with training as well. There's a blind spot in the training there about it as well. I just see it as that. I'm really sorry. This is something I'm really, really passionate about, you know?
Yes. Yeah, me too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just earlier you touched on, obviously, no addict starts off as an addict.
No.
You know, it's obviously it's any person, but how many times do you hear or see people have just done drugs as a one-off at a party? But the thing with addiction is you're effectively just gambling your life on the fact that you don't have an addictive personality, and so many people out there who do think, oh well, drug addicts are bad, they've done this, that, or the other. Chances are they've probably at one time took a party drug, as they're called, and just don't have that addictive personality, so they've been lucky.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're all right in a group together, and also when you first meet them, bravado is there. There's an awful lot of that there, you know. But you get them alone, and they cry about their life. They cry. They burst into tears. They do. You get them alone, and you get them talking about their lives, and you tell them that you want to help them. The amount of people, the amount of men, 30, 40, 50-year-old men I've had sobbing in my arms, you know, out of the situation. But the minute they leave and their friends are outside that room, they've got to act the big man. They've got to be.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
They don't let their feelings know, because then it's a sign of weakness, you know, and people will use that sign of weakness. There's the other people as well, of course, I've never mentioned, who sadly as a child grew up in the world of drugs. We've got people who grew up in the world of drugs. That's all they ever knew. Now, even as a young child, 5, 6, 7-year-old, they were used to sell the drugs. The mother's boyfriend, or even the mother or the dad, would give them a package and say, go down the road and drop that package off at somewhere, because the police wouldn't arrest a child. They just can't, you know. If the police catch a child with drugs on them, they'll take the drugs off the child, probably inform social services, but that's it, you know. The child wouldn't be up at court. But they've grown up in a world of violence. They've grown up where they've seen the mother with lots of different boyfriends. They've seen the mother being beat up by different men. They've grown up with seeing the dad being really violent to different people and that, you know. And if a child sees that, that will affect the child for the rest of his life. The child grows up with all anger inside of his child about his past life and what he's seen, all that hurt and pain in him, you know. And many of them take drugs just to hide that, you know as well. You know, yeah. So there's many different reasons why people end up where they are, you know. I mean, we all end up where we are for some reason. You have ended up doing that where you are now, going to uni, because of a reason from the past, you know. We all end up where we are. The police officer, our MP, he's ended up being an MP because there's a reason behind that. That's his aim and an ambition, and he's been able to go into politics, and he followed his dad and followed his family into that politics, and that's what he actually grew up was, you know.
That's what it is. That's people forget that drug addicts are still people. They're just people who were born the same way as the rest of us, and I think people need to remember that and just need to be a bit kinder, be a bit more compassionate, and take the time to speak to them and understand them, and really realize what their life's been like, because it's not easy. Drug addicts don't have fantastic lives. They're not.
No.
So I think people do need to take the time to be just a bit nicer, and just, if you could give a message to people who maybe do have these misconceptions about drug addicts, what would it be?
Probably don't judge. You just don't know what that person's been through and what trauma that's led them to that place. And everybody has a story. We get that, but you know, there's people out there that are in addiction that's just had it a little bit tougher. So just be kind. Kindness goes a long way.
That is so true. You know, you don't know the background behind the person, why he's behaving, where he is, how he is. We all behave like we are doing because of our background, you know, quite often the way we were brought up and that, you know. I mean, we're seeing the real Helen now, not the Helen with drugs in her, the real Helen, the kind, the gentle Helen, the real person's coming out. But the drugs hide that. It hides it. It's like a monster inside of you that takes control, you know.
Just numbs you, just turns you. And you have to put them walls up because you're living in dangerous situations. I've been around guns, I've been around knives, and you build up that wall of toughness. So, and then I'm still breaking it down piece by piece, but it takes time. And it's just,
I think people don't maybe understand the climate you're in when you're living in. You're addicted to drugs. Therefore you are in a difficult situation. You're, like you say, you're surrounded by weapons, by violence, and I think a lot of people don't see that side. They just see the side of, oh well, they're out, they're getting drugs, they're going home, they're doing the drugs, they're not paying rent or bills, but it's more than that.
I mean, quite often they will owe money to a drug dealer, and they've been threatened by a drug dealer. many of them that I work with, at some point in their lives, have been pinned up against a wall, have been beaten up by a drug dealer, had knives in the face and this, that and the other. You know, many of them have to go out and get money. They're absolutely scared, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I was stabbed in my lung. So it's just that that environment's really it's tough. So so that's a bravado that you put on, and it makes you very chaotic, because you're thinking about, am I safe? And you've got all these thoughts going around, but initially it's the drug that you want. So you just put up with whatever situation you're in. You put up with it because you need whatever's coming next.
Mm.